Gallatin Avenue in a beautifully restored historic home. Family owned and operated by Rick Gates, former Brownsville resident and Guyville alumni, the Gates Funeral Home and Crematory offers warmth, convenience, affordability, and ample parking. With a knowledgeable funeral director and compassionate staff, the Gates family and the Gates Funeral Home and Crematory are ready to assist you.
WMBS time is 8:20. Time for your financial future with Gary Boatman. The following program was recorded for playback at this time.
All content is for information purposes only, is not intended to provide any tax or legal advice or provide the basis for any financial decisions, nor is it intended to be a projection of current or future performance or indication of future results. Opinions expressed are solely those of Gary Boatman and staff. The information discussed has been derived from sources believed to be reliable but is not guaranteed as to the accuracy and completeness and does not purport to be a complete analysis of the materials discussed. The information contained herein should in no way be construed or interpreted as a solicitation to sell or offer to sell advisory services to any residents of any state other than the state of Pennsylvania or otherwise legally permitted. Topics should be discussed with your individual advisor prior to implementation. Purchases are subject to suitability. This requires a review of investors' objective risk tolerance and time horizons. Investing always involves risk and possible loss of capital. Advisory services offered through Boatman Wealth Management, LLC, an investment advisor in the state of Pennsylvania.
Good morning and welcome to Your Financial Future. I'm certified financial planner Gary Boatman, and we're here every Saturday morning on WMBS. People are more responsible for their financial futures now than they've ever been in the past, and so that's one of the goals of our show. We've written over 850 newspaper columns. Many of you saw us for a decade in local papers. We do a lot of workshops. We have lots of clients all throughout here in Western Pennsylvania. And we believe that financial literacy is a very important step. You've got to make decisions and you have to have good information. We're seeing a lot of stuff happening right now. We're starting to approach Thanksgiving in a couple of weeks. And it seems like Christmas is getting earlier and earlier, doesn't it? It used to be, remember when we were young, when did we know Christmas was kicking off? I think in our family, it's when we got the Sears Christmas catalog, right? It used to come in and it was full of toys. And you didn't have that, you didn't have the super huge discount stores then. Sears was the biggest retailer in the country. Now they don't exist anymore. But that Sears Christmas catalog would come out. And we would be in the car, and I grew up in the Newcastle area, and every fall my dad would drive us up to Kinzoo Dam. That's up by Warren, Pennsylvania. And we'd go up, we see the leaves changing, and my dad was an engineer. It was amazing how they were building that dam over times. But I can remember we'd be sitting in the car, and we'd be passing the Sears Christmas catalog around. Now everything's online. We've been going in the stores for weeks, and we see all the Christmas trees. We barely got Thanksgiving stuff out of the way, and we're into Christmas. As you start to buy, it's very important to remember if you overspend at Christmas, then that can affect you all year. The way you never want to buy stuff is on a credit card where you don't pay it in full. We've talked about this in some past shows. Interest rates on credit cards, 19, 20, 24%. And that's if you pay on time. You miss a payment, it could jump to 30%. Don't be very careful of those loan offers that the credit card companies often put in your statements. And they usually don't offer you 100% of your credit line, but they might offer you 50%, and you can get cash for that. Those you can't pay back immediately and not get charged interest, and they're very expensive. So be really careful about that. Be careful of rent-to-own type places. If you look at the interest rates, I often tell my clients, if you see a sign in the window, no credit check, probably keep driving by, because probably you and most of my clients aren't afraid to get their credit checked because they have very, very good credit. The Federal Reserve is fighting two big challenges right now. The economy is slowing. Just recently, UPS announced they're going to lay off 48,000 people. Now, their biggest customer for the last number of years was Amazon. And Amazon is shipping more and more of their own. And speaking of Amazon, they just announced they're laying off 14,000 people. So Microsoft, many of the big companies have been laying off a lot of people. And why? There's a number of reasons. Some of it is AI, artificial intelligence. That's been the number one driver of the stock market. What is AI? It's amazing, but it can also be dangerous in the wrong hands. Criminals are using it. Criminals can really make stuff look like the president or some famous actor or something is saying something that they're not saying. So you have to be careful. It's really hard to tell the difference when you see this, and it can sound exactly like them. And so you have to be very, very careful. But it also can be very productive. The most widely used, there's a number of them, but ChatGPT is probably the most widely used. And you can go to their website, and at no cost, you can ask it a question, and it's going to make Google go away probably. It's amazing. You could ask it a question like, I'm thinking about going on a vacation, and tell it what direction you want to leave, north, south, what time of year you're going to go, tell how far you want to drive in a day. Just give it some parameters, and it'll give you ideas. Some you may have heard of, and some you didn't. But it'll tell you if there's a festival or a concert there. It's amazing the stuff that it can do. There are some apps where you can snap a picture of what's in your refrigerator, and it'll give you menu suggestions based on what food you have. But it's going to replace certain jobs. When we grew up, some of you may have had a party line, telephone line. Kids would never believe that today. They don't even know what a landline is, right? But a party line, you and some neighbor might be on the same line because they didn't have it. Today, they've added so many area codes because of cell phones and all this and that. But there aren't operators. It's all computer. Could you imagine when you used to pay your telephone bill, you wrote a check, and it got sent in, and there was a room full of clerks sitting there processing it and making bank deposits? There's one or two people overlooking the computer now that's processing tens of thousands of things. So AI is going to change some jobs. It's going to eliminate some jobs, but you need to make sure you have the skills. All of these companies who have these huge increases in AI, they have to find ways to monetize it, and they're not all going to be hits. So we talked at our workshop 2 weeks ago about maybe some alternative investments in the stock market. If you want to get your portfolio risk tested, we can help you with that at Boatman Wealth Management, 724-684-6600. We can show you when it was the Mag 7, where it was amazing how much they were over doing. We showed some figures at our workshop we did a couple weeks ago, and the Mag 7 is like a third of the S&P 500, the value of them. And the law of large numbers is going to catch up some there. If you have great stock market gains and you say, I need to take some of the money off the table, there are some ways to be able to do that. 724-684-6600. And we can give you some ideas. Remember, we're in the middle of Medicare open enrollment right now. This is your chance to make changes that will take effect January 1st. Make sure that you have health coverage at the providers that you need and to cover the medications that you need. Kelly can help you that. She is very thorough. She has all the top companies. She sits down, asks you some questions, understands your situation, and finds you. Basic Medicare does not cover things like a dental and eye care and hearing. There are some ways to get that, and sometimes it's at zero cost. To reach Kelly about your Medicare, 724-684-6600. And Kelly will be glad to help you. Remember, you only have till December 7th She's going to be here before we know it. We know everybody gets busy around Thanksgiving time, and so it gets really tough. You've probably noticed when you go into the banks or the credit unions, interest rates are going down, and they're going to continue to go down. When Jimmy Carter was president in the 1980s, rates were 15, 16%. When rates went down, the people who had locked in those rates for 5 years or something did a lot better than the people who just did short-term rates, and they went down. They did a short-term rate, and they went down, and they did that. Right now, thank goodness, we're not near 16% rates in that. But we just recently got somebody for 5 years, a fixed rate of 5.25%. You're going to have a hard time finding that at a bank. If you are an investor who is looking for safe money, if you don't want that money to be in the market, we can help those people in the market, but we can help the people who aren't in the market. But you want to call now to lock in rates before they go any lower. They will be going lower. If you have been thinking, I'm worried about my stock market investment, that doesn't guarantee me a lifetime income. And longevity risk is the number one concern for people in retirement. There's 103,000 people in this country age 100 and older. And over the next 20, 25 years, that's expected to grow to over 300,000. So right now are the best rates if you're looking for that kind of help. We're full service at Boatman Wealth Management, and we're licensed in all areas. Somebody that is only licensed in fixed products or only in the market can't tell you all of your options. We are not captive. Somebody at the bank or at certain brokerage companies are only allowed to talk about products that their boss approves. If they talk about something else, they could get fired and they could lose their license. It's called selling away. We're not under those at Boatman Wealth Management. We have a team of experts on income planning, on the stock market, on all these different things, tax planning and many other, legacy planning. I could go on and on. But you get one-on-one service, our family helping your family, but we have the software and we have the networks of all kinds of experts that we may need. So to tap into those, we want to offer all of our listeners a free, no cost or no obligation strategy session. Just call 724-684-6600. We're going to take a short break and we'll be back.
When you think about income tax, the date that comes to mind is April 15th. But if you want to pay less lifetime income tax, Gary Boatman of Boatman Wealth Management says the most important date is December 31st. No one wants to pay more taxes than legally required. That's why taking action now can potentially save you a significant amount of money. If you are selling a business, a rental property, or other appreciated assets, call Boatman Wealth Management today at 724-648-6600. Boatman Wealth Management has over 18 tax-saving strategies. They want to turn your income tax dollars into income-producing dollars. Don't let your surviving spouse's taxes explode because of the widow's penalty. Act today. Boatman Wealth Management may be able to help you do a Roth conversion and have someone else pay your taxes. Boatman Wealth Management can take your last tax return and analyze it for tax savings. Call Boatman Wealth Management, the tax experts, at 724-684-6600.
Good morning and welcome back to Your Financial Future. I've been talking a little bit about our workshop we did about 2 weeks ago at the Lighthouse Room. We'll probably be doing another one after the beginning of the year, and I'll give you a warning when we're going to do it. We want to thank all the people who attended. We had a number of listeners there. We had a number of people that are in our network there, and they thought they got a lot of value out of it. That's what we want to deliver. But I posed a question to them, and I'll pose the same question to you. If you had 3 buckets of $100,000, one of them is in an IRA, one of them is in a Roth, and one of them is in a non-qualified brokerage account, are they all worth the same amount of money? After all, they are all $100,000. So are they all the same? Well, the answer is no, they're not all the same in value to you. Which one is worth the least? Well, that's easy. It's the $100,000 that's in the IRA. Because an IRA is really an IOU to the IRS. When you put the money in, you got to take it off of your taxes, and they let it grow, tax-free deferred. It was deferred. And then when you take it out, you pay ordinary income taxes on the whole amount. So the only person that's good to leave an IRA to is a spouse if they're going to need the income. It's not the best way to leave money to children, because if your children are 25 years younger than you and they're going to inherit this, they are probably in their peak earning years. Because of the Secure Act 2.0 and 3.0, the stretch IRA was eliminated. So they can't take it out of their lifetimes. They have to take it out within 10 years. They may be in a much, much higher tax bracket. Hopefully they are, because they're still working. And if they have a good job, they're going up. You throw the money coming in off of your qualified account into them, and they have to take it out. The government, Uncle Sam, is going to collect a lot more in taxes. So we know that the IRA isn't the best way. If you have a lot of qualified accounts and you want to find better ways, give us a call, 724-684-6600. So what about the other two buckets? We have $100,000 just in a non-qualified account. That's pretty good. You only owe tax on the earnings. Or you have $100,000 in a Roth. Well, I spoke last week about a gentleman I had in the office, and he is just turning 62. There's two rules for a Roth on what is a Roth? A Roth is earned income. You can either contribute to it while you're working. Basically, that means you're paying Social Security tax and there's an employer paying it. It could be you if you're self-employed. And you pay the tax now, but you put it in there. The two rules to get the money out, you can always get what you put in, the principal that you put in, you can always get out because you paid the tax at no penalty. But if you don't meet the two rules, you'll pay tax on the earnings. The two rules are you're at least 59 and a half, and you've had some Roth for at least 5 years. So that might be a good reason to start at least a small one right now, start that clock, right? But this gentleman, he went and he met both of those rules. So it's 100% easy for him. Any money that was converted should go into the Roth, because no matter what it earned, whether it was a few dollars at the bank or whether it was a lot of money in some other investment, he didn't have to pay tax on it. So there is no doubt that a Roth is more valuable at the same amount than an IRA or 401k. A lot of people save wrong. They put it all in IRAs, 401ks. If you're getting matching money in a 401k, 403b, you always want to put in at least enough to get the matching money. It's hard to beat free, right? So if they're matching 3%, 5%, you want to make sure you put at least that in. We're not telling you don't save more. You need to save more because you're more responsible for your retirement than ever before. So, but do it right. What if, in some cases, we talked about this at our workshop, what's the number one reason that people don't do Roths? Most people would tell you, and I don't think there's any accountant or anybody that knows money that wouldn't agree with me, that if you had $100,000 in a Roth, you were way better than if you had $100,000 in an IRA. So that there shouldn't be anybody that questions that. Maybe Uncle Sam, because he wants his cut, but nobody that's looking out for you. So what's one of the reasons that people don't do it? More Roth conversions, because you have to pay the tax. In some cases, we have a way where somebody else may pay on a Roth conversion all or a significant portion of the tax. It depends on your situation and a few things. So what we're offering at a strategy session to see if that makes sense for you. We've got to look at your tax return, and we have to know a little bit more about you. You can't be a fiduciary and do what's in your best interest if we don't understand your situation. But if you would like to find out, wouldn't it be great if somebody else paid some of your taxes? It may be possible. I'm not saying it's perfect for everybody, but for a lot of people, it could be a very good solution. Give me a call. We'll talk about it. We'll see how we can sit down and get the information we need to give you the best answer. 724-684-6600. I want to mention right now, I've mentioned on some previous shows, we are part of a group, a tax strategist, and we have over 18 different methods of trying to lower future tax bills. And if you are selling a business or if you have a rental property, whether it's a house, a duplex, an apartment complex, whatever it is, give us a call and we may be able to find ways to eliminate all or some of your taxes. We want to turn tax dollars into income-producing dollars. Now, for most people, this isn't going to apply to your own house because there's different tax rules for your house. As long as you've lived in your house, 2 out of the last 5 years, it's been your principal residence. It's not just like a hunting camp or something like that. And you sell it, you have, in most cases, up to $250,000 of an exemption from capital gains tax. If you're married, you could have up to $500,000, $250,000 apiece. So in our area, most people don't have a problem on a house. If you happen to do that, then maybe we can talk about the tax strategy. But most people are not going to have when they sell their principal house. That's one more reason you shouldn't ever sell your house for $1. We're going to take a break and we'll continue our discussion in just a moment.
Did you know the average 65-year-old couple, according to Fidelity Investments, will spend over $235,000 on health care over their lifetime? Gary Boatman of Boatman Wealth Management reminds us that we are now in the Medicare open enrollment period until December 7th. This is the time to talk to a company like Boatman Wealth Management to update your Medicare plan and try to reduce your out-of-pocket expenses. Maybe you have a new doctor or a new prescription. Many local hospitals are being run by new healthcare organizations. Many urgent care centers have experienced changes. Make sure you can get the care that you need. At Boatman Wealth Management, they offer many options as opposed to hearing from only one company. Call Kelly at Boatman Wealth Management today. 724-684-6600. Kelly has the best options for Western Pennsylvania and has often found hundreds of dollars in monthly savings for her clients. Whether you're new to Medicare or looking for ways to save on your current plan, call Kelly at Boatman Wealth Management today. 724-684-6600. That's 724-684-6600.
Good morning and welcome to Your Financial Future. A lot of times at a workshop, not always, but a lot of times I ask people, have you ever heard of selling your house for $1 to your kids? And most people raise their hand. And I say, why would somebody tell you that? Where'd you hear that? And most of the time they heard it from somebody at church or the grocery store or a friend of theirs. Oftentimes it doesn't come from a financial professional. But why? People are thinking, Medicare, we get asked this question about Medicare. Medicare is very important to retirees, but Medicare does not cover long-term care. Long-term care is very expensive. So you're responsible for your own long-term care. If you have assets, you need to spend them down for long-term care, whether you like it or not. Not all long-term care is in a nursing home. That's the most expensive. Sometimes you need to have somebody come into the house, especially a widow or widower where there's only one. Oftentimes your kids live out of the area or they're working or it's this and that. I can remember my dad was an only child, and when my grandmother and grandfather got older, they moved them to town. They lived about 50 miles away so they could watch over them closer and go to the grocery store and all those things families do for each other. And there were times they lived in the house, and my mom and dad could make sure they were taking the medicines, that they got rides to the doctor and all the things, got the food they needed and were kept warm and safe and all that. Today, with all the dual working couples, that's very hard. So if you have assets and you don't have some kind of long-term care coverage, most people don't have it because it's very expensive. Use it or lose it. There are some ways where you may be able to get long-term care coverage without paying a monthly premium. If that's something that you want to know more about, give us a call, 724-684-6600. But for most people, and you have to do that before you need it, you're never going to get anything if the doctor says tomorrow you need to move into long-term care. So you have to do it. You have to do that kind of planning ahead of time, like all planning. But so you spend down your assets. What happens? If you run out of money, Medicaid welfare has to go in. It really takes you down low in how much money you have. But so when people say that they will take away your house, if you're married and your spouse still lives in there, they'll get to keep the house as long as they're okay. But after they're gone, the government may come in and recapture the house to get back the premiums they paid for you. So sometimes you hear from people, sell the house to the kids for $1, or there's a 5-year look-back period. If you, like I just said, you can't do stuff when it's too late. If you knew you had to go in a nursing home tomorrow and you sold your house to anybody for $1 to get it out of your estate, that would violate the 5-year look-back period. And so the state would say, hey, no, those assets still count. We're not covering that until the value has been recovered from that house. So that's the reason that a lot of people do it. That often, you're not going to hear me tell you to do that in most cases. Probably the only case where I might tell you that is if the child lived with you before and they were paying a lot of expenses and it was their house as much as it was your house, then we may look at it slightly different. But if they have their own house, probably not. But let's talk about some of the downfalls of doing that. First of all, like we said, have you ever heard of somebody having a falling out with their child? What if it's your child's house and they say, get out of my house, where are you going to go? What if the child goes through a divorce and your daughter-in-law or son-in-law, their attorney is going to say, oh, we're not just holding that so mom doesn't and dad don't, if they go in a nursing home, it could become a big problem. If you ever needed a reverse mortgage, you can't get a reverse mortgage on a property that you don't own. So that goes out. Reverse mortgages aren't right for everybody. For some people, they can be a godsend, but you can't do that. But what happens if you had, we'll just say one child for this example. Let's say you have a daughter and she doesn't live with you, but she was going to inherit your house. You bought the house a long time ago for $50,000 and you fixed it up and it's appreciated and it's now worth $2,000 on the day that you die. If you had sold it to your daughter for $1 7-8 years ago, you were past the look-back period, and you died, and the house is worth $200,000 on the day that you died, and your daughter has her own house, and maybe it's in a different city or whatever. So what's she most likely going to do? She's probably going to sell your house. So if she sells your house for fair market value, $200,000 in this example, she would go and she would owe long-term capital gain tax on $200,000 minus $1, so $199,999 at 20% tax rate. That would be, $40,000, $50,000. If she got it through your will or through your trust, She would get stepped-up basis to the day, what the value was the day you die, and she would owe zero capital gains tax. Sometimes when you try and push the limits overboard, we want to do what makes a lot of sense and looking at the comprehensive picture, understanding how complex laws are and everything else. So we're not lawyers at Boatman Wealth Management, but we work with tons of lawyers. And we work with ways to reduce your probate costs that may be 3 to 7%. On $200,000, if it was 7%, that's $14,000 in probate fees that might be eliminated. You want to have a comprehensive plan. We believe that all legacy planning starts with the surviving spouse, but then you would rather have your children and grandchildren get the money than somebody else. Let us help you with that. I want to offer all of our listeners here and today a free strategy session. You'll get to talk to me. You won't be talking to some subordinate. Kelly might be sitting in the meeting. If you're talking about Medicare, Kelly's going to be there because I understand all Medicare. She's up to date on everything. You can reach us at 724-684-6600. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you next week.
Gary Boatman of Boatman Wealth Firm thanks you for voting him the best in Fayette financial planner. Gary and his family love helping your family have the best financial life possible. They strive to get to know you and your family. Even though Boatman Wealth Management is a family firm, they have a skilled team of experts in tax planning, income planning and risk management, as well as Social Security risk management, maximization, and all other areas of financial planning. They can get the answers to all your financial questions. At Boatman Wealth Management, they want to help your family pay less in taxes and have the money to do all the great things on your bucket list. They thank you for voting for them, and as a thank you, they are offering a free strategy session so they can help you as they have for so many of your neighbors. Just call 724-684-6600. Your family deserves the best financial life possible. So call Boatman Wealth Management today at 724-684-6600.
Your local station, WMBS. The preceding program was recorded for playback at this time. Up next, the Daily Obituary Announcement.
Hi, folks. Sal Santori here, inviting you to tune in for our new show, One